In today's video, we're talking about how you can create a character arc in your manga, comic, or light novel. So first of all, what is a character arc? A character arc is a smaller story within the main story which focuses on your character's character development. It focuses on your character's journey from who they are at the very beginning of your story to who they become by the end of your story. Why are character arcs important to have? Well, even though your character would likely go through character development throughout the course of the story, sometimes they need their own smaller stories within the main story in order to give them enough development in order to make your readers care about them. Your readers need to care about your characters in order to really feel compassion for these characters as they go through the events in the story. So even though your characters might be working towards the main story goals throughout the story, giving your characters their own mini stories or their arcs in the story can help you to develop these characters further and let your readers know more about them. So there are 5 main stages in a good character arc, and we'll be talking about each of these stages in today's video. There's the origin story, the initial threat, the training arc, the final boss, and the Dark Knight. There's also a 6th part as well, but we'll be talking about that at the end. So first of all, you want to know your character's origins. Create a backstory for your character which helps to explain the events they experienced and how certain events or memories they have shape them into the character they are today. A character's backstory is one of the most important parts to a good character development. It's also one of the most important parts to creating a character arc. You need to understand your character and what they have experienced before you are able to develop this character further and make them feel relatable and help them connect more with your audience. But another thing, it's also very important to know your character's backstory to help understand why your character acts in a certain way in the current moments of your story. Your character's skills, their personality, the way they dress and style themselves, these can all be created based on your character's backstory. For example, if your character needed to survive in a dangerous environment in their backstory, then they may have a lot of really good survival or fighting skills in the current moments of the story. Their current fighting skills relate directly to events they have experienced in their backstory. And this applies to any skill. If your character is really good at cooking, maybe in the past they had to do a lot of cooking in their life. So these are just some ways you can use your character's backstory to make your character more relatable and believable in the current moments of your book. Now, the next stage of your character's arc is the initial threat. At some point, your character faces a threat which acts as the inciting incident, setting them on the path of their story. This is an event that forces your character to really reflect on their story and their situation, and it really pushes them towards a particular goal in the story. So in general in a story, usually the main story will be following the protagonist's goal. So the protagonist will have a goal, and then throughout the story, the characters will be working towards this goal. However, every character in your story, not just the protagonist, will have their own individual goals. So in the initial threat of your character's arc, your character needs to experience a threat or a danger which forces them to develop their initial goal in the story. So to give an example of this, maybe your character lives in a village and there was a monster attack on the village. Suddenly your character might feel like they need to learn how to fight and to protect the people they care about, and that initial threat is what starts them on the path in their character arc journey. So you need to consider what event occurs that scares your character, that shows a threat to your character, which forces your character to develop a goal which they will follow throughout the rest of their character arc. Now, the third part of your character's arc is the training arc. Once the threat has been realized, the character must train to gain the abilities they need to face this threat. Now note how training is in quotations, and the reason I did this is because training might not necessarily mean your character developing fighting skills to defend themselves or other people they care about. Training can apply to many different genres. For example, if you were creating a shoujo manga, maybe your character's training arc is them learning how to be more confident in themselves and learn to talk to lots of different people. That could be applied to the training arc. So there are a variety of ways that your character might train to gain the skills they need. But this is why it's important to consider what the main initial threat is, and then consider what kind of training your character might need to go through in order to gain the skills they need to progress further in their character arc. Now, next is the final boss, aka the challenge. Eventually, your character gains enough skills where they must face the final boss. This refers to the event that they have been training for throughout their entire character arc. So the final boss, even though I'm calling this stage of the character development that, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're fighting against a final boss. This more refers to the fact that they are now facing a challenge, the challenge that they have been working towards throughout their entire character arc. So this can vary depending on the genre. In a shonen, it may very well be a final boss, but in something like a shoujo, maybe the main character now has to face a person that they had been avoiding for a long time. Maybe they need to use their skills and their confidence that they have been working on throughout the story in order to talk to the person that they really care about. So that's an example of a final boss situation. So think about in your story what would be the equivalent of the final boss, the challenge that your character has been working towards throughout the entire story, and think about how your character may use the skills that they have gained throughout the character arc to face this challenge. Now, the next stage of the character's character arc is the Dark Night. Now, in most cases, almost all character development arcs will have this event, and this is when your character first experiences the final boss or the challenge in their story, but they fail, and this makes them realize that they feel very powerless. They feel like despite all of their training, they were unable to defeat this final boss or succeed in this challenge. So in attempting to defeat this challenge, your character will likely fail on their first attempt, and this will cause them to reflect on their journey so far and their own abilities. After this, however, they remember why they came this far and who they are, and with the last bit of strength they have, they stand again ready to face the challenge. Showing the Dark Night in your character's development arc is really important because it makes your character feel believable. Your character will likely not succeed on their first attempt, but it forces your character to reflect on who they are, why they are trying to face this challenge, and what they need to do in order to overcome the challenge. This will really make your readers want to root for your character to see how they have trained throughout this story, how they have reached this challenge, and your readers will want to see them succeed and get through this challenge. Despite the fact that it might be difficult or your character might feel powerless, your character will need to find a way to get themselves through this situation in order to succeed and achieve the goal in the story. So finally, we reach the result. This is the final stage of your character's arc, where you reveal where all of their training and their experience has led to. This is like the resolution in the story. We tie up all the points in your character's arc, and your character either defeats the final boss or maybe they find a different way to approach this challenge. Either way, however you plan on ending your character's arc is up to you as the author. But this is where we really see what your character has worked towards, how your character will fight against this final challenge, and where the results of all of this training and experience has led them to. Now, the reason I left that quite open-ended is this varies depending on the character type you're writing. In most cases, if you have a hero's journey, for example, something like the protagonist's journey, the protagonist will likely face the challenge and they will succeed. But if you're creating someone like an antagonist, usually this is where they face the challenge, but maybe they stay stuck in that powerless state, which causes them to become a villainous character. So you need to consider how, by the end of your character's arc, how all of the events have led your character to this point. Will your character succeed in the face of these challenges, or will they be stuck in that powerless state, reflecting on their abilities and their progress as a character? However, even if this is the end of your character's story arc, it is likely not the end of your character's journey. Now that you have told this character's story, it is time for this character to help other characters tell theirs. A character arc helps to reveal your character's story to your audience. No matter what your character has experienced, a character arc can help your readers see your character's journey from beginning to end and see how your character's story is shaped alongside the main story in your book. Whether you're creating a protagonist, an antagonist, or side characters in your story, every character can have exciting and interesting character arcs that your readers will enjoy as well. Thank you so much for watching today's video, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know what kind of character arcs you're creating, because I would love to hear about it, and I'm sure other people would love to hear about it too. Visit my website, midnightscross.com, for free resources, templates, and workbooks that can help you to level up your story. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!